Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. In the studio today, we have the one and only Travis Swanson. To give you a quick, those of you in Razorback country will know, played for the Arkansas Razorbacks, played for Detroit Lions. Was a starting center last year for Miami Dolphins for most of the games.
Yeah, about 11 of them.
Awesome.
If I remember correctly.
Hey, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
I don't want to spoil it all, but what's kind of cool is we do our Pro Athlete Entrepreneur segment, our spotlight that we're doing once a month, and it just so happens that you are also an entrepreneur now. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yep.
But so I don't want to spoil that. Really exciting. But just start and give me some highlights. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and just wherever you feel like talking about, and let's just get a better understanding about who you are as a person for a few minutes.
Yeah, I guess who I am is I was born in Walnut Creek, California, in 1991, and when I was about 3 months old, my father got a sales job in Houston, so kind of packed up, moved down there, grew up in Houston for my whole life. In terms of the football aspect and kind of what brought me up to Arkansas was I had to go to a bunch of sort of one-day camps to kind of get some exposure, offers and stuff like that. And I remember sitting down with my dad the summer before my senior year, and I get these real generic printed out letters saying, oh hey, come to camp, like one day camp, this, that. And so every weekend we tried to map out, like, let's do this one this weekend, this one the next weekend, and I think we went to about 7 or 8 of them when it was all said and done. The last one came down to either Baylor or here in Arkansas. And we were just kind of looking at both letters, and he asked me what I wanted to do. I was like, let's go. Get out. Just go see what something
You've never
else
been
is
here
like.
to Fayetteville
No,
before.
I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the state or the town and stuff. And so I remember we actually flew into XNA, and as soon as you get in, you get out of the airport, you got Cave Springs right there, and I'm like, what? It's like I came from suburbs of Houston. Everyone's kind of on top of each other. I just thought that was life.
Most of our listeners are not in Arkansas, so just whatever you picture, whatever your picture of Arkansas is, it's probably correct. It's fields and cows, and there's nothing else.
Well, I had never really seen that before, so driving through Cave Springs, and then you get to the highway, and obviously back then it was not as developed as it is now.
Right.
So and then I remember going up Razorback Road to kind of go check in for the camp. Like, we haven't even checked in yet. And I was like, this is something just felt right, So then to me, I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to, make sure that this kind of works out in the end. And, you go to the camp and did my best. And thankfully they called the next week and offered. And it was kind of, rest took care of itself from there. Now here we are.
Let's talk for a minute, though. Let's go back and talk about your dad. Because my background as a kid was in music. And I was, like you were chasing football, I was chasing music. Yeah. And I remember being in Nashville a few years ago, and it just hit me out of nowhere. I forgot how much my dad did for me in those years, chasing my dream. I had to call him and go down. I was teary-eyed. And I was like, Dad, thank you. And I'm like, you used to drive us to Nashville for showcases and put up with the band, put up with the guys. And tell me about your dad and because he kept coming up of helping map things out. And
well, him and my mom, they were so vital in not only helping me get to college, but then also to the NFL, because they put me in. I started playing football when I was 6 years old. Wow! And it's because they said, I was taller than everybody, and I had bad spatial awareness with other people. So I'd always just kind of be on top of the other kids. And well, why don't we let's just put them in football and try and get some energy out, And apparently they said when I was 6, I got on the field and didn't want to do anything. So I just completely blew back in their face. But, I just, I thank them all the time because parents out, you never, like, they would have never thought that just like one decision to put me in, like, oh, let's just put him in Little League football just to get some energy out. And then you fast forward 22 years later and it's like, look.
It's incredible.
Just look what happened.
Hey, that's encouraging to me. My son has the same spatial thing, and we put him in soccer, and suddenly he's the guy that's up on everybody stealing the ball. Yeah. And we didn't even think of that being a skill set. Yeah. And put in the right environment.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Just things that kind of come across in your life that at the moment you could think are so little and simple, and it's like, oh, let's just do this, and then it blossoms into something that is. Kind of it's taken and sent my life on this projection that never thought would have happened. Like, you have no idea. Like, high school, I think my sophomore year, I kind of decided, like, I want to try to do, like, keep playing in college, and then they, my parents with the, spending the money to take me to these camps and the hotel rooms, like, they didn't have to do that, but they did.
Right.
Because that's what they're loving parents.
You didn't just get all this handed to you. It wasn't just like you finished college and go in NFL, like it's a guaranteed.
No.
I mean, so tell me, which I love, those are my favorite stories.
Yeah.
So tell me about your mindset of perseverance. You've been a fighter the whole time.
Yeah.
What does that does that mean to you?
It's trying to think of the best way to word it. I don't really know if I was put on this earth to play football. I just know I enjoyed it. So I looked at it like, okay, let's try to make the most of this while we can. Who knows where it's going to go? Like, I'd like to make it to college, and who knows, maybe make it to the NFL. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen. Right. So it's just more of, for me, I couldn't sit by the phone and just stare at it and wait for people to call me. Some guys can. I couldn't.
Right.
I realize that.
Most people can't.
No, most people.
In anything in life.
No, most people. Like, you have to. You learn from a early age. To kind of create your own path, and so I also was like, okay, what can I do? We can go to these camps, and I can control the things I can control. I can be the first in line, yes sir, no sir. I can do my best, don't complain, things like that, and just hope that this kind of blueprint that I lay out for myself to just get to college works. And thankfully it did. And then it's like, okay, then you get to college and it's like, wow, like you're a freshman, 18 years old, just like, okay, we're here.
Right.
And then it's like, I look at it like, okay, I got that goal. Now I need another one. Now what are we going to do about this? And, it kind of takes some time because, 18 years old, you're trying to figure out who you are.
Right.
Like, it's a very critical moment in everyone's lives because, if college is your thing, you go away from your family, what your comfort zone is, you're around other guys in the same situation as you. And, there's this sort of molding process of who you will be down the road.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that, between the ages of 18 and 21 are the most critical of your life. It's not, but it's just like in a college scenario like that, like, it's going to develop you in a sense of who you possibly could become later on in life.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you do it? Because you reminded me something while you're talking about this is what's next, right? And I've lived my life always, and a lot of ambitious people are what's next, because you're building it. That's great. Oh, yeah. We have a wind wall out in the hallway, which you haven't seen. I'll show you where people on our team are writing all over it about successes, because I share that a lot of ambitious people don't know how to stop and enjoy the moment or don't know how to stop and go, let's celebrate the wins we just had because we're on to the next thing. And sometimes that fatigues the people around us.
Oh, yeah.
How do you celebrate wins and be in the moment? And then I want to hear you share like some of your favorite moments that you've had.
Yeah, it's I think you hit the nail right on the head. I've been like that, honestly, is what's next? Like, you get to college, like, okay, what's next?
Right.
I redshirt that first year. Then, I go in my second year in 2010, redshirt freshman. I started fall camp third on the depth chart. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to pull this off? 28 days later, whatever it was, I was starting.
Wow.
So we did it. So then it's like what you said, the next thing. And it really wasn't until recently, the past month or whatever it was, that I decided to retire, that you kind of like, I try to use this analogy just to myself is like, life, you have these different almost big slabs of marble, and you're almost this artist. And everything that, whatever path that you like, I want to try this, every success that you have, every failure you have, you chip away at this huge marble stone. And whenever you're done with it, whenever that either your life ends or your career, that path for you ends, is when you take a step back and sort of admire what you've created and all these little chips throughout the years that you've kind of put into this thing.
That's a beautiful analogy. I've never heard it shared quite like that.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it, because then it's like, okay, after 22 years of chipping away at this stone, you go back, you look at it, and you say, we did some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Look at where we're at now. 28 years old, still young.
Right.
So let's roll that next marble in here.
What's next?
And get working on it. You know.
And part of that brass marble is going to help shape and help you with
definitely
the next one as well.
Definitely. I learned a ton of life lessons.
26.
28.
28 years old.
28 years old.
But tell me, I know it's fresh for you. Did you announce last week or 2 weeks ago? So I had the printout on Twitter when you announced it. It's new because I knew you were coming in. You and I were talking about interviewing, and you announced your retirement during that time, which made it way better for me because there's more to talk about. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah. And so you're in the transition. I talked to a lot of pro athletes, a lot from the NFL who are in transition or who went through it and talked about what it looked like. Yours just happened a little bit differently because you're choosing.
Yeah. No.
And others have had it chosen for them and go, what do I do?
I know. Well, that's the thing is one of the goals, I guess you could say, is, you get into this thing and you never know how long, as far as like I'm only speaking on the NFL terms, you have no idea how long it's going to last. Every year, you could have a contract for that's 3 years or 4 years. You just because it's 3 or 4 years doesn't mean you're getting that. Right. Like every year you walk in, you have no idea if you're going to be there or not.
There's uncertainty.
There's so much uncertainty. Yeah. So a lot of it, I wanted, getting into this, I was like, at some point, whenever it is, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 12 years from now, I want to walk away on our own terms. Healthy, stuff like that, And the big thing for me was having, my wife and I had our daughter in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
Literally right after the season. And when she got here and, I saw her, something inside you, it's just like, okay, let's just let's talk about this. Let's think about it just because now, your priorities change, and seeing her did that for me. It's like, man, I'm at this sort of fork in the road of my career. Like I just finished my 5th year. Like, okay, I could take this path where I stay in it for another 3 or 4 years, and we can, you make good money, very good money if you can, stick in it each year and go that route, just kind of see where we're at after 3 or 4 years. Or you can become the family man. We can start the next career. I got all my benefits in the NFL. I'm healthy.
Right.
So it's like, and we thought about it for a while, and my wife and I kind of talking about different scenarios and situations, what we'll do and stuff like that. And, it felt right to us that this is the time,
I'm sure there was a lot of discussions about where to go and how to walk away from it.
Yeah. It went on for months, and I'm going to miss it. I miss it every day just because a lot of it's, you do something for 22 years of your life. It's kind of all right? Essentially. And, I'm going to miss the game and the teammates I had and the friendships you make and stuff like that. There's nothing like it. But this moment, this was going to come at some point.
Yeah.
So when are we going to rip that Band-Aid off? It's rather I do it. We do it on our own terms, or someone else is going to say, you need to stop.
I love the way you're doing it. There's no easy, we can't always have our cake and eat it too, right?
No.
There's every choice has a consequence.
Oh yeah.
It just does. Mm-hmm. And we're always, that's what happens as adults, right? Yeah. As kids too. But, and especially when you start getting bigger. I remember my baby girl turned 10 last month. So,
that's awesome.
And it feels like it was yesterday holding her for the first time. It changes. It's just if you're mature at a certain level, it does change how you think about everything.
Oh yeah.
And you had a choice to let your career, which I know, and I was in music that way for a while, and it was hard for me to walk away from the way I did. Yeah. Really hard. And I went through a transition of where I was trying to refine my identity.
Oh yeah.
For a while, and I know a lot of athletes do that as well. A lot. But you know, to go to look and see that you have an opportunity to help your family and to have some control over how it ends is great, because otherwise the ride can take you indefinitely. Oh yeah. And you can look up, and I've seen that with the industry I was in, where a ride would take someone for 20 years and spit them out. Oh yeah. And it wasn't the ride they necessarily wanted. Yep. Yep. So I love that you're doing that, and you're controlling some of the outcomes. That's very cool. I still want to hear, well, this isn't a sports show, even though we have ESPN, but just tell me some of the most, I can only imagine, but tell me some of the most, like, what were some of the most, give me one or two, like, highlights of, like, maybe where you just had an out-of-body experience and were like, whether it was the size of a crowd or who you were playing with. I mean, was there any moments for you that really stand out that are just, that you're going to take with you for a long, long time? You know, it's a lot of things coming to my head right now. Probably one of the coolest things was when I first got to Detroit, and I walk in and you see your locker and you're like, man, this is, you know, it's on like a whole nother level. This is NFL locker room first time. And it's like, you know, you have that feeling when you get from like high school to college, like, that's pretty sweet. And then it's like you walk in the NFL billion-dollar business and like your name's on, and you know, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this is unreal. And all of a sudden I feel this almost like tap on like my shoulder, and I turn around, the guy goes, hi, I'm Calvin. And he goes, it's Calvin Johnson. I'm like, I know who you are. Wow. the fact that he, you know, took the time to come up to me, who I just rolled in the place. Like, I haven't done anything yet. I just haven't done anything. Wow. And the fact, like, a guy like that would take the time to come up to a rookie and do that had a huge effect on me. And seeing that, you know, helps you, or helps me, I think, shape the sort of not only leader that you want to be, but person you want to be. Like, here's this guy that's got, you know, I mean, everyone knows his name and stuff, and he took that time to come talk to some kid who just got here. Right. For me, that's probably one of the coolest things, experiences that ever happened, you know, and there's been a lot of, you know, we got to go over to London twice and play 2014, 2015. That was a great experience. You know, just playing in Wembley and stuff like that. We had 2014, we came back from, I think we were down 21 points at halftime. Came back and we were out there. We you know, we evened it up, and I remember we went out for a last second field goal. And when you play in London, you have a bunch of people in the stands that are wearing just all sorts of jerseys. There's just like this just multicolored people just yelling, because I think they think it's like a soccer game, you know, and they're just yelling, and the most excited they ever get is when kickers come out. Because they're just like, that's what they do, you know. It's hilarious, and it's just, you got those vuvuzelas, whatever they call them, going off and stuff. And I remember we went out there to game-winning kick. Matt Prida gets up, kicks it, going up. Time runs out, he misses it. All of a sudden, we look over, and there's, you know, refs blowing his whistle as a flag. It was a delay game, so we back it up 5. You get to re-kick it. But you look in the stands, and all these English people are like, what is happening right now? Like, why is this? Like, they just don't get it, you know? It's hilarious. And then we ended up. So you guys, in the moment, you were appreciating the irony of. Oh my gosh, it was so funny, because they cheer for him to come out, and they miss it. Some people are cheering, some people are not, and they get to redo it, and they're like, what is this? Like, this makes no sense. That's fun. And then he makes it, and we, you know, go into a bye week with a win, and it's a great feeling. You know, a lot of games like that, like coming from behind and stuff, and just like, you know, even guys, like the guys that you come across in the locker room, just all walks of life. And that's the difference between college and the NFL is, you know, your locker mate in college is typically your age, and you got some class together and stuff like that. And then you get the NFL guy next to you is 32 with 4 kids, and you're trying to take his job. Right. Oh, wow. It's like that, you know. Very, very competitive. Wow.
But especially for O linemen, you generate this sort of just camaraderie amongst each other. Like everyone knows, like especially when you go, like typically what would be this time for OTAs and stuff. You go in there and there's 14, 15 guys. In the back of your head, not everyone is going to be here. The guys in the room, they're going to keep, have 8, 9 guys. So guys are competing and stuff like that. And that's going to happen. But regardless of the situation, you still form these friendships with guys that'll last lifetimes. Just because, that's just how specifically being an offensive lineman is. It takes a certain kind of person to play that position.
It's interesting when you're talking about that because it does apply so much to the regular world as far as leadership and dynamics and team building and conflict resolution and all of that stuff. So let's transition for a minute and why don't you share your announcement with going into the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, it's so pretty much my wife and I started up a company called Alpha Lit, Northwest Arkansas. We essentially do marquee letter rentals for events such as weddings, corporate events, birth announcements, marriage proposals, birthday parties, anything like that. We're just getting started up. We'll be fully functioning, I would say June 12th.
Wow. Okay.
We have some set up right now at the baseball tournament going on in Baum Stadium.
Oh, cool. Okay.
You set those up the other yesterday, actually. You can check us out, social media, Instagram, just at AlphaLit NWA. Okay. And we're we're getting this thing up and rolling, and this is sort of our next. So
tell me
venture.
why I did look it up.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool, us being a marketing agency and doing photos. In fact, we got a product photo shoot for a Walmart product coming up, and I think this would be really cool for us to implement that in the background. It'd be really, really sweet for a video shoot. But for our listeners, give us a little bit of background. Why that? And just give us a little bit more. Like, how did that come about? Why did you pick that specifically? And then is it going to be in Northwest Arkansas? Right? You're going to be awesome.
It's in Northwest Arkansas. So essentially, how this whole thing came about is, we decide to, hang the cleats up, and then once again, you're still kind of searching for that. What's the next path going to be? What's this going to be? So we have a very close friend of ours that we know from college that they live in Dallas. He actually is playing for the Patriots right now, and they're married. She's staying in Dallas, and she opened up this business called Alpha Lit, but she runs the Dallas. The Dallas was almost, you could call it the headquarters of it. Okay. So, we're seeing everything that she's doing because she's marketing on social media and stuff like that, and then we just, Emily and I, my wife, kind of look at each other why don't we, let's reach out to her, see if you had people try to, I don't know if you want to call it franchise or license or stuff like that, but, we think that there's a market up here for that because obviously you got all the different, you got Walmart, you got the wedding venues, you got just all sorts of stuff. And we had never seen something like this with this kind of product specifically for these marquee letters. You've seen marquee letters that companies have, and that, it might be low quality this or whatever, but this is specifically for, you got a bunch of different letters, symbols, interchangeable light bulbs and stuff like that. And it just
these are for our listeners, 4 foot. Some of them are, how tall do they get?
Well, on average, 3 foot.
3 foot tall letter. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, 3 foot, 3 foot letters each.
And people are doing it for weddings, for proposals, for company events, for
all sorts of stuff.
Photo shoots,
and we looked at it and we asked her about it, and she said, "Yeah, let's try to work something out." And thankfully, it did. Yeah. Now we're gonna, we're up here now, and we're gonna get it going fully on June 12th. Is when we'll have the letters and everything sort of in place.
Awesome.
We're already having a bunch of people kind of reach out through Instagram and email and stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool.
Social very well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's just, a lot of this too is we have to sort of take that leap of faith at some point. Kind of going back to how, football was in high school. You can't just sit by the phone and no one's just going to call and offer you something.
Right.
So it's we have to take some sort of initiative, whether that's I go work for someone who's already established, or we can create something on our own, and kind of make this what we want it to be. So yeah, it'll be up and running soon.
I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah.
We love new businesses. I'm excited to be your business neighbor here locally too.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
From a leadership standpoint, I know leadership's important to you. This is a business leadership series.
Uh-huh.
Give me some insight or two about you talked about personal leadership. This will be one of our last questions, but tell me about like what principles have you carried with you from all the training, from all the practices, from all the things that you've done, all your team travel. What are the top leadership principles, especially self-leadership, that you carry with you that maybe are your mantra that stand out to you?
Oh man, there's a lot.
Give me a few of your top ones.
Yeah, a lot. The first thing that you have, at least I'm speaking just from my personal experience, your own integrity has to be, I think, at the top of I guess if you would look at your leadership pyramid or value scheme, whatever you want to call it. If you have to look in the mirror and know what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, especially in the NFL. The NFL, you have to even detail it down to the minute.
Wow.
Just because it's a very short-term business. You're in a very short-term mindset because there's a ton of roster turnover every year, and that's just how it is, and everyone, a lot of it too is culture. What culture do you come into? Kind of like what I did, when I came into Arkansas, what was the locker room culture like? Who were the leaders that were in there that I could kind of look to and say, okay, this is how they do stuff. This is how he, leads this way. This guy leads this way. What do I like about this? What do I like about this? A lot of it is the culture that you step into, and then when it becomes your time, the culture that you create. That's a big thing.
Wow.
Not everyone can be led the same way. Like people are just wired differently.
Right.
Especially from a football standpoint. Like some guys, you could, if they mess something up, you can just go over there and they internally are struggling with it. You don't need to get onto them. Some guys, might need a kick in the butt, and you just have to differentiate between knowing, I guess, sort of the psychological makeup of who is following you, and being able to tap into what drives them. Is it, what's their motivation? Stuff like that. I think something like that is, I don't know if some people might be born to be leaders. I think a lot of people are made into that, kind of, once again, going back to the culture, who led them, how did they kind of have their upbringing and this sort of thing. And I've had just phenomenal guys who I've looked up to that have helped me kind of become, not even just like a leader, just who I am today. It's and I'm grateful. And a lot of it is tied back to football. Just because, I think the game there's so much more to it than just what people see on your Sundays or your Saturdays in college and stuff like that. There's just so much life lessons that it teaches you. And you don't even have to make it to the NFL to get these life lessons. Right. You can play in high school. There's nothing wrong with stopping after high school. Right. That's your path, and that's your path. Right. I've been so fortunate just to my 28 years on this earth, just kind of have gotten to do what I've gotten to do, and like seen the places that I've seen, met the people, certain people that I've met, and I had a great time then, but I'm also very excited to see what's next.
You're just getting started.
Yeah.
And so the foundation that you build is solid and amazing. And so the first 28 years, congratulations.
Thank you.
Travis Swanson, again, our guest today, with his new company, Alpha Lit NWA. You can go to on social, Alpha Lit NWA, and learn more. Travis, welcome back to Northwest Arkansas.
Appreciate it.
Excited to be your business neighbor, too.
No, appreciate it. We'll have to get together sometime.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Outside of here.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.